I say it all the time. The South, the Bible Belt, as it's commonly referred to, it's batshit crazy down there. And people say, well, it's crazy everywhere. This is true. But in particular, the South has a history of this craziness involving racism. So it's a particular type of craziness that's unique to the South. Now recently, this happened very recently. And I was like debating whether to bring it up because, shit happens all across the country. But there was something different about this and I wanted to talk about it. Because I think it's indicative of where we are currently and where we're probably headed. There was an individual that was upset outside the gas station, a BP gas station in Jacksonville, Florida, I believe. And he was apparently heard using racial epithets. And then he walked into the BP gas station. And there was a young African American woman already in line, I guess waiting to pay for something. And he got a little too close for her comfort. So the story goes, she politely asked him, "Sir, can you please give me more space?" And this individual immediately began to punch this young woman repeatedly, several times, 10 times to be exact. Fist to the face. And there were other individuals in the gas station that saw this. And they did nothing to help this young woman. Absolutely nothing. While this man pulverizes her. And then it's been reported, whether it's true or not, that he made mention of having a gun in his vehicle. Now, this is where it gets a little odd, because this is on video. The physical assault is on video. So, we have a video of the individual being assaulted and the individual doing the assaulting. The video clearly demonstrates that there's only one aggressor. And the state of Florida knew who this individual was immediately when the video was released. Now here's where it gets odd. In the freest state, Ron DeSantis country, I keep telling you, Ron DeSantis is up for re-election. You vote that son of a bitch out. You got Nikki Fried. You vote for Nikki. She's going to turn around Florida. It won't be any more of this bullshit. I guarantee you. But it's going to take a while, but she'll turn it around. I guarantee. Here's where it gets interesting. They knew who this individual was. Yet, local authorities in Jacksonville, it took them 4 days to arrest this individual. 4 whole days to arrest him. Now I'm sitting there thinking to myself, wait a minute. You have the video. You know who this lunatic is. Why does it take Jacksonville, Florida, 4 days to arrest him? And then nobody could really explain why it took so long. So they say, oh, this is kind of the usual pace. No, that's a lie. If you know who somebody is and they clearly assaulted you, they arrest you immediately. I'm going to talk about another fight that just recently happened and how it didn't take them 4 days to arrest the individual who was not responsible for the altercation initially. But it took them 4 days in Jacksonville, Florida to arrest this individual. Now, this individual is no stranger to law enforcement. That's why I say this is odd. Because this stranger that it took 4 days to arrest, he's a registered sex offender in Jacksonville, Florida. He also had a domestic violence injunction dismissed against him. And then he had 2 assaults. One with a deadly weapon. Both of those were dismissed. So this individual is not a nice person. Yet it took Jacksonville PD 4 days to arrest him. When they had the video of him pulverizing a young black woman. And they probably would have taken longer had there not been mass protests demanding that this individual have his name released and be arrested. They didn't even want to release his name in Jacksonville, Florida. They knew who he was. Because he had multiple run-ins with law enforcement. So they knew. They knew as soon as they saw the video who this individual was. They're like, oh, we know him. That's Kevin Williamson. Yet it took them 4 days. Ron DeSantis, why did it take you 4 days to arrest this individual? Was it because he beat on a young black woman and it was a hate crime? Oh yes, this is a hate crime. They heard him outside the BP using racial epithets about black people. And then he walked into the store behaving like a racist. This is their base. This is the modern conservative Republican Party base. Misbehaving, of course, like they always do. Just like the shooter in Buffalo. He's a conservative too. A fascist neo-Nazi on the far end of their spectrum, but a conservative. This is what they've not only tolerated and allowed for, this is what they help blossom. I want to make that clear. I don't want to just try to act like, no, this is just people that hang out over there with them. No. This is what they help foster and create. For decades. This didn't just start. And you hear conservatives, whether it's Marjorie Taylor Greene or these batshit crazy candidates running for local offices in Georgia, saying the solution, they say purple people's out. We have the solution. It's just that we need to become a Christian, Judeo-Christian nation. We need to return back to Jesus. I'm like, wait a minute. Isn't this shit happening in the Bible Belt? You fuckers are already Christian there. I mean, I'm not a Christian. You say I'm a Satanist. I don't fuck with any cults, but I'll go with that shit. We're in the Pacific Northwest. We're heathens. We're devil worshippers, okay? So it makes sense for us to be behaving like this. But what's you fuckers' excuses? We don't even behave like this. What's you fuckers' excuses? This is in Florida, the Bible Belt. You already believe in Jesus. You go to church. So why are you misbehaving? Why is gun violence through the roof down south? If the answer was Christianity, you're the Bible Belt. So why are you shooting up so many people? You're telling me the kid from Conklin, the individual who drove hundreds of miles to murder people, he wasn't a Christian? I thought he was. His parents were devotedly Catholic. I'm sure he's 18. I'm sure he's been to more church services than me. I don't go to any of that shit. So no, this has nothing to do with cults. This has to do with this country's history. It's deeply rooted history of racism and bigotry and hatred. And no cult service or worshiping of any cult is going to change that. Miss me with all that bullshit about theocracy. Complete bullshit. This individual went into a BP gas station and was looking to do something harmful to a black person. He was already on his racist bullshit. And what I don't understand is all the individuals who were standing around watching this occur. There's an individual you can see from the camera footage of whoever shot the video. There's an individual walking up slightly, not too close, but slightly in behind as he's punching on this young woman. And this individual does nothing to assist the young woman. Now, I understand that people don't want to get involved in domestic violence because you never know how that's going to turn out. But saying, hey, or this person is their back turned to you, you can kick them in the leg, kick them in the balls. You can decapitate an individual. Look, if I had been in that gas station, firstly, none of that shit would have happened. Or you know, when you see me, you don't pull bullshit. You notice they only pull this bullshit when a number of fuck shitters are around. You're not going to pull this bullshit around me. You know it. I'll have none of it. But I can't be everywhere at all times. So you get bullshit done. No, that was such a shame. I saw the video. I was like, this individual should have been arrested 2 hours after that occurred. 2 hours. No more than 2. But 4 days. He was out on the loose. With a weapon, a gun. He could have done any number of damage. The federal government immediately needs to hit him with a hate crime. He needs to go away for 20 to 30 years. That's it. He's already done 2 assaults. He's already got a domestic violence injunction. He's already a sex offender. Now he's a racist. You need to toss trash like this away. Some people can be reformed, others cannot. He clearly does not want to be in the general society. He's begging you to put him away. And you fuckers continue to have him out in the general society. And then people wonder why shit happens. There's people that should be put away for a long, long time based off of their behavior. Where am I wrong? It's not like this is the first time and he just snapped. If that were the case, I would be like, okay, it would still be wrong, but I would be understanding a little bit. This individual has a history of assault, violence, and yet he's allowed to have a gun. And then we wonder why gun violence is through the roof. Why does a sex offender who has domestic violence injunctions and 2 assaults, 1 with a deadly weapon, why is he still allowed to possess a weapon in this country? And then you wonder why mass shootings happen. I mean, you can do reasonable reforms, reasonable things that all of us can agree to, regardless of our view on guns. We can say people that are sex offenders and have a domestic violence injunction and 2 assaults, 1 with a deadly weapon, they probably shouldn't be allowed to go to a gun shop and buy another weapon. We can all agree to those kind of terms and conditions. We know it would keep all of our communities safe. Yet a lot of fuckers like that have weapons. Go figure. No. This seems like a war on black women. I'm being honest, the way I look at this, the disrespect towards the victim. There's no way in the world you can tell me Jacksonville PD did not know who this was. They did. They didn't even want to release his name until there was protest. You clearly have the video showing him assaulting this woman, punching her 10 times. You clearly know who this person is because they were in your system. So why did it take 4 days to have them arrested? Can someone please explain this to me? And don't try to explain it to me like I'm stupid, because I'm not. I heard somebody say, oh, it's common. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, when you have a video showing someone's face, and you know who they are because they've been in the system, and you have a name, and you see an assault, it's not common that it takes 4 days to have them arrested. What's common is they're arrested within 5 hours. If they are still on the run after 10 hours, it's a manhunt put on. No, this was blatant disrespect because this woman was African American. This was blatant disrespect towards this woman. And if the community of Jacksonville, some of the community in Jacksonville, hadn't come out and demanded that this individual be arrested, it probably would have taken them a week. 4 days. It's only 7 days in a week, so almost nearly a week's time, this individual was loose. But Tim Scott, senator from South Carolina, said America is not a racist nation. I always say, how long did it take him to practice that shit in the mirror? To say something we all know is not factually, even remotely true. How long did it take him to practice this? The cadence, the credence. I don't even think Tim Scott believed that shit. Not when he's a sponsor of a bill saying that, oh, by the way, private equity, only 1% of all private equity in America goes to people of color. And 2% goes to women. So 97% goes to white men. All private equity funding in America. 1% goes to people of color. And 2% to women. Tim Scott is sponsoring a bill to try to, well, I guess get 5% and not 1%. But here he goes telling you America is not a racist nation. Apparently you can't even go into a BP without being punched 10 times if you're a young black woman. And you get no defense. All of this bullshit about hashtag protect black women. I didn't see too much protection of that black woman. America, you're on some bullshit. It's like the Titanic. Every time this shit happens, the ship is going to continue to sink faster and faster. Until everybody on the ship decides that they either want to get into a life raft or they want to do something to help the ship. At this point, people don't even want to get onto a life raft, let alone help the ship. They're trying to act like this shit is normal. If somebody is pulverizing a young woman, and you don't see that this woman has done anything to this individual, regardless of her ethnicity, somebody should have stood up for her. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I said, what in the world is this fuck shit here? And this individual, Kevin Williamson, he comes into court and asks for bond to be revoked and to be let go back out into the general society. Where's the DOJ hitting this bastard with a hate crime? We now currently have hate crime legislation. If you say something that can even be remotely construed as racist and you go and assault someone on the basis of their ethnicity or for whatever racial reason, you should be hit with a hate crime. He clearly did this. So where's the DOJ with the hate crime? Hit that son of a bitch with a 20-year hate crime. Put him away. He's of no more use to the general society. I don't know if he ever was, because it seems like he assaults everyone. I just said this is the saddest thing ever. And there's a lesson in there too. I keep saying this to young women, especially black women. Don't go out there by yourself. You need to be in pairs, or at least with 3 or 4 people. They can be women. They don't have to be me. But somebody has to be out there with you at all times. Things have gotten far worse under this pandemic. Things were already bad before the pandemic. They've gotten far worse now. If you're going to be out there by yourself, you better have a lot of weapons on you. And you better be prepared to use those weapons. Because a lot of people have weapons, but they're not prepared to use them. You have to prepare yourself to use them when necessary. Don't use a weapon if it's not necessary. But in that situation, if she had some bear mace or a knife, I would have stabbed that son of a bitch. But you gotta do it where it's potentially lethal. And you gotta prepare your mind to do whatever is necessary to survive. Because what he could have done is he could have punched her, walked out of the store, walked back in with a gun, and shot her to death. We have to stop pretending that this country is not racist, it's not violent, and it's not dangerous. Every time you walk out the door, you have to be prepared for war in this country. Period. End of story. You can walk out there and pretend that nothing else is occurring around you if you want. You might not walk back in. Please be mindful and aware of your situations and your surroundings. It doesn't mean that nothing bad can ever happen to you, but at least be prepared. Gas stations are a war zone now. Grocery stores are a war zone now. Elementary schools are a war zone now. Theaters are a war zone. Everywhere you go, it's a war zone. So you have to operate on that principle. I tell people, the buddy system is incredible. If you go out by yourself, let a friend know where you're going. Be like, I'm going here to this club in Jacksonville. If you don't hear back from me in a couple of hours or in a couple of days, contact authorities and let them know I'm missing. You have to be like this now. You always did, but now you super have to be aware. This is what it is. You can gripe and complain, or you can grow up and take action. Complaining about the rain never stopped the rain. I want people to remember that. You can complain and say, oh, this is wrong, this is horrible, this is awful. Yes, all of that is true. But it's not going to stop this kind of shit from happening. The only thing that's going to stop this type of shit from happening is if you're prepared as an individual to deal with it when it arises. Black women, I want to make this clear to you. You are a target in the United States of America by Nazis and racists and white supremacists. And you can lump all of them in together because the one thing they all agree with is their hatred for black women. This is a fact. And I'm sorry, we don't have hundreds of millions of socialists in this country to protect every black woman. It's just not true. We just don't have the numbers. So if you know that you're under attack, you should take measures to, one, as much as possible, avoid and prevent being attacked. And two, if you do come into a situation where you're in a position where you're being attacked, to respond. I tell black women, go and get guns. Fuck what they say about gun control. There is no gun control in America. There never will be any gun control in America. Go and get guns. Go to the range and practice. Practice makes perfect. This is necessary at this point. It's mandatory at this point. Because there's a real war on black women in this country. There always has been, but it's increased tenfold. You saw what he did. He drove hundreds of miles to murder elderly black women at a grocery store. There's not too many men who go to grocery stores and shop on a Saturday. I just want you to know this. And he went to a predominantly black community. So he was targeting black women. They won't report it like this on the news because the news is corporate. The news is controlled. The news is not your friend. He went and targeted black women. The misogyny and racism in this country runs deep. It's a deeply rooted value of this Nazi regime that's been in control of this country. The hatred for black and indigenous women is nothing new. It's just now being shown because we have social media. Before, it was swept under the rug because the corporate media would never show it. They would never report it. But now that everyone has a media with their cell phone, we can all see it. We can all hear about it. We can all speak on it. You have to do what's necessary to keep yourself safe. You have to do what's necessary, especially as black women in this country, to keep yourself safe. I want to know why it took 4 days. Ron DeSantis, you got to tell us why it took 4 days to arrest this freak, this demon-possessed individual. We want to know why it took 4 days. Was it because he used racial epithets and he attacked a black woman? I think so. Everybody else is going to say, oh no, you're injecting race. Well, I'm not injecting race when he already was caught using racial epithets and he attacked a black woman. How can I be injecting something that's already there and that's been injected? Jacksonville knew about this individual. It's not like he didn't have a criminal record. Extensive criminal record. So why did it take 4 days and not 4 hours? The Purple People's Owl wants to know. Ron, can you tell us? Look. You see what's happening. You hear what's happening. You best start believing what you hear and see. There's a war on black women in this country. And the war is rooted in hatred of the mere existence of black women. They made videos almost a year ago saying that we're going to have to protect black women in this country. I knew that this shit was only going to get worse, not better. But black women, you have to do what it takes to protect yourself. The old saying is true. The Lord blesses the child who's got their own. So have your own 45. Get one of them with the red light scope, so you don't have to worry about aiming. That's the red light. So you pull it out, you aim it right at their heart. Say, if you don't back off of me, you Nazi. You're getting 2 right to the chest. Then you can fire a warning shot up in the air and point it again. You got 10 seconds. Move along, buddy. Because you don't want to take a life. But if you have to, you got to do what you have to do. Don't hesitate. Because they can sense hesitation. You got to be forceful. I have my suspicions as to why this is increasing. I think it has a lot to do with a black woman being vice president in this nation. on the crust of baby becoming president. It has a lot to do with black women being talked about as potential presidents, such as Meghan Markle, Michelle Obama. All of this is rooted in misogyny and hatred of women, but especially black women. And I don't think we can understate that as a society, as a country, and as a community. We must be aware of it and proactively work to dismantle it. Ron DeSantis, you ought to be embarrassed of yourself. You're the governor of Florida. And it took you 4 days to apprehend an individual who you knew about. What a fucking embarrassment. It didn't take him this long to say you can't say the word gay in a classroom. It didn't take them this long to ban books. No, they quickly signed legislation to do away with the Disney special district. But when it comes to an individual who's known to assault, using racial epithets and beating up on a young black woman in a BP gas station, it took them 4 days. Now you think about that. And you think about what message that sends, not to the victim, not just to the victim, I should say, but to Jacksonville, the state of Florida, and the country. Will this November send Ron DeSantis a message too? Tell him he's fired.